The courtroom fell silent as the judge raised his gavel, ready to deliver a verdict that seemed inevitable. But just as the wooden hammer struck the block, chaos erupted. A teenage boy, barely old enough to drive, stood up with a trembling hand, shouting words that sent shockwaves through the room. Asterisk. They're lying. Asterisk. What followed was a jaw-dropping revelation that exposed years of dark family secrets. A web of lies, betrayal, and hidden agendas unraveled before everyone's eyes. As the teen courageously revealed the truth, the unthinkable happened. His so-called dead brother walked into the courtroom. Gasps filled the air, and the judge's gavel shattered in his hand, unable to contain the storm of emotions. What secrets did this family bury so deeply, and why was everyone so desperate to hide the truth? Stay tuned as this unbelievable story unfolds, with twists you won't see coming. The courtroom was in chaos, and every eye was fixed on the young man who had just walked in. He looked like a ghost, pale but alive, his resemblance to the family undeniable. Whispers spread like wildfire. How could he be here? He was supposed to be dead for years, lost in what the family had always claimed was a tragic accident. The mother's face turned ashen, her hands clutching the table as if to steady herself. The father's expression was unreadable, a mixture of shock and something darker, fear, maybe. The teen who had spoken earlier now stood frozen, his courage mingled with relief and confusion. "I told you," he exclaimed, his voice breaking. "They lied about everything." The judge demanded order, but the courtroom felt like it was holding its breath. Who was this man? Why had the family kept his existence a secret? And what was about to be revealed? The tension in the courtroom was suffocating. The man who was supposed to be dead stepped forward, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "I'm not a ghost," he said, his gaze locked on his parents. "I'm the truth you tried to bury." The room buzzed with murmurs, but his words cut through the noise like a knife. The teen's face flickered with a mix of triumph and heartbreak. He had spent years piecing together clues, whispers of inconsistencies that no one else seemed to notice or care to. The so-called accident that had taken his brother's life never sat right with him. And now, here was the proof, standing in front of everyone, unraveling their parents' carefully constructed facade. Their father finally spoke, his voice low but trembling. "You don't understand what you've done," he said, his words directed at both brothers. But was it a warning or a threat? The truth felt close, but the air grew heavier, leaving everyone desperate for answers. The silence that followed their father's words was almost unbearable. The older brother's jaw tightened as he took another step forward. "What I've done," he repeated, his voice steady but laced with anger. "What you've done is worse than anything I could imagine." His eyes burned with years of pain and betrayal as he looked at his parents. "You left me for dead. You didn't even try to save me." The teen stood frozen, trying to piece together what his brother was saying. He had imagined this moment so many times, what the truth might look like, but it was darker than he had ever guessed. The mother broke her silence, her voice trembling. "We thought we were protecting you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand what was at stake." "Protecting me?" The older brother shot back, his voice rising. "You stole my life, my family, everything. And for what?" The courtroom erupted again, but the judge's gavel couldn't contain the storm. The truth was circling the room like a predator, and everyone could feel it closing in. The teen turned to his brother, his voice barely above a whisper. "What really happened to you?" The older brother hesitated for the first time, his face filled with a mix of sorrow and rage. "If they won't tell you," he said, pointing at their parents, "then I will." The room held its breath as he prepared to reveal the truth, the weight of his words threatening to shatter everything. The older brother took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the courtroom as if deciding whether to drop the weight of what he knew. Finally he spoke, his voice steady but filled with bitterness. "The accident wasn't an accident," he began. "It was staged. They didn't just leave me for dead, they made sure I couldn't come back." Gasps rippled through the room, and the teen's stomach churned. "What are you saying?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "I was sent away," the older brother continued, his gaze burning into their father. "They wanted me out of the picture because I knew too much. About the money, the deals, the lies." His voice cracked as he said, "I trusted you, and you turned on me." The father stood abruptly, slamming his hands on the table. "Enough," he shouted, his composure unraveling. "You don't know what you're talking about." But before anyone could react, the mother suddenly burst into tears, crumpling into her seat. "Stop it, both of you," she sobbed. "This wasn't supposed to happen. We had no choice." "No choice?" The older brother shot back, his voice sharp. "You chose greed over your own family." The teen's heart raced as the pieces began to click into place. This wasn't just a family feud. It was something bigger, something dangerous. And for the first time, he realized the truth might put all of them in more danger than he ever imagined. The courtroom was electric, everyone holding their breath as the truth teetered on the edge of being exposed. The older brother stepped closer to their parents, his voice trembling with anger. "Tell him," he demanded, pointing at the teen. "Tell him why you did it. Tell him what you're hiding." The father's shoulders slumped, his mask of control finally cracking. "Fine," he growled, his voice cold. "You want the truth. You were a liability, both of you. I had to protect the family's future." "Protect us," the teen interjected, his voice shaking. "You lied to us. You destroyed us." The mother sobbed uncontrollably, clutching her face. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she cried. "We'd only wanted to shield you from the danger." "What danger?" The older brother pressed, his eyes narrowing. And then the father said the words that froze the room. "The people we were working with, they would have killed all of us if we didn't cooperate. You knew too much. So we had to make a choice. We staged your death to keep you alive." For a moment, the weight of the confession hung in the air. The older brother's fists clenched, his breathing ragged. "You didn't save me. You sacrificed me for your deals." Before anyone could respond, a loud voice rang out from the back of the courtroom. "That's enough." A man in a dark suit stepped forward, flanked by officers. "This trial is over. Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice." The room erupted into chaos as the parents were cuffed and led away. The teen stared in disbelief, his world crumbling around him. But just as the brothers turned to leave, the older brother leaned in and whispered, "They weren't lying about everything. There's still someone out there who doesn't want us alive." The teen froze, his blood running cold. The truth had come out, but the danger was far from over. As the courtroom emptied and the echoes of chaos faded, the two brothers stood together for the first time in years. The teen looked at his older brother, his voice soft but steady. "What do we do now?" The older brother placed a hand on his shoulder, his expression a mix of exhaustion and determination. "We start over," he said. "We stay together, and we protect each other this time." Though their parents were gone, leaving behind a trail of betrayal and secrets, the brothers knew they still had each other and the truth. The teen's mind swirled with unanswered questions, but one thing was clear: their fight wasn't over. As they stepped out of the courthouse into the cool air, the older brother turned to him with a faint smile. "They didn't break us," he said. And with that, the two walked forward, ready to face whatever came next together.